This video is sponsored by Crimson Manifesto and Knuckles OX. Yo peeps, you guys know the deal. I'm going to show you a screenshot from my analytics of how many of you guys are regular viewers that are unsubbed. So please go ahead and fix that while also leaving a like since you know the content is dope and you enjoy it. Now, on to the show. Raising up the Fighting Dreamers. What if Hinata was on Team 7 Part 6 Act 1? It is a few days after Team 7's return from the Land of Snow. Naruto and Kakashi, after having filed their mission report, are now tensely sitting in the Fire Shadow's office still. As not long ago, three geezers Naruto has never met before entered the office to analyze the situation as well. A member of the Anbu Black Ops coldly ordering Naruto to remove his shirt, channel chakra, another rude order to check his seal and measure his chakra output. These clinical acts elicit the desire for the Jinchuriki to want to snap and wallop all these weirdo adults. However, a few straight calming words and the odd pat on the head from his mentor calm him before he can ever do so, each carrying the distinct impression from Naruto that Kakashi not only understands these feelings, but possibly shares them even. This serves as some comfort for the delinquent, as he's once again reminded that over the past 3 months, no matter how much hell and anguish he's caused for them, his team have truly been kind to him. As the examination is concluded, the Anbu states that Naruto's seal has indeed loosened, but for some reason, the boy and the fox's chakra seem to be, for lack of better terminology, resonating a lot more than they had ever seen from the prior Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. In simple terms, it's now becoming sorta muddy to tell where one ends and the next begins, explaining why it's so easily gone unnoticed. Hearing this, one of the old people with bandages over his face suddenly accuses Naruto of being the demon fox itself, having already consumed the boy's humanity, further citing the orphan's petty acts of violence and vandalism as merely precursors to when this animal would try and wreak revenge on them. Thus, he suggests that the boy needs to be terminated as the current demon container, and another much more qualified and splendid shinobi be selected to take his place, at the very least making a motion for him to be at least monitored by a more competent Jonin sensei, of his choice of course. Old Man hears and addresses this man as Danzo, shooting this idea down with all haste as not an option or necessary, and positing that had he remained in the Anbu himself, Kakashi will remain to be its top operative. However, before he can go any further, a shiver runs through the spines of all present as a dark chuckle rumbles out of Naruto, along with eerie red chakra beginning to lick at the air. The boy clutching an eye in hysterics and exclaiming it took them so long to figure it out. But now, he finally has an excuse to drop the facade and destroy these geezers, raise this village to the ground, and rise as the Leaf's new overlord. But before he can go any further with this tirade, Kakashi bonks his wily student atop the head, killing his bravado and subsequently seeing the red chakra recede almost instantly as he cries out in pain. Kakashi hissing that this really isn't the right time to be playing around, and in response, the delinquent shinobi whispers back that he makes bad jokes when he gets nervous. This leaves the room stunned, as this demonstration shows irrefutably that Naruto somehow has enough power and control over the Nine-Tails' influence to bluff with his killing intent, yet to be reined in so easily by his master. And thus instantly, the momentum Danzo seemed to be building up shifts as the other two elders begin to praise Kakashi's work, and Sarutobi's foresight is impressive and effective. The Leaf Shadow deciding to bite his tongue and hold the intel he'd gotten that the boy was still fighting on the streets like a common thug for a more advantageous time. Seeing his military superiors are done with his blonde student, Kakashi throws the boy back his coat, handing him some Rio and calling it early pay before hurrying him along to go celebrate a successful mission with some ramen. Naruto at first looks excited for the early pay bump, but at the word successful, his expression sours, something Kakashi takes note of, and instantly feels bad for saying. As the elders file out and the Anbu returns to the shadows, Kakashi hangs back, stressing that while Naruto's growing control is a blessing for now, Kakashi isn't very pleased with how it's coming about, citing his intentions to give Naruto a bit of good he could put out into the world by having him take on the team's medic role. The third commends this as wise, citing the much needed chakra control training this will require of him, so he too can recognize how failing him this bit of good along with his worsening reputation in the village can't be good for Naruto's mental health, even if he has been getting into less trouble since becoming a genin. And once more, the wise old teacher is sure this is forcing Kakashi to neglect his other two students slightly. Agreeing with this, Kakashi makes a formal request, asking the third to get in contact with Lord Jiraiya about the matter a bit earlier than he would have in canon, and also if possible, Lady Tsunade. Seeing what the Cyclops shinobi is getting at, Hiruzen smiles that he most certainly can. However, as Jiraiya is busy following leads on a mercenary group, and Tsunade hasn't been sighted for a while due to her debts, it may take a bit for the message to reach them, and then even longer for them to develop correspondence, especially if he's convincing Tsunade to return, even though he knows a surefire way to get her to come back for his sensei's sake. Thanking Lord Third, Kakashi departs as well, thinking how much he just wants to curl up in bed and read after all this stress. But as he exits the tower, he finds Naruto waiting for him, the blonde not even allowing time to be questioned for his presence before demanding Kakashi teach him that new jutsu he promised since healing seems to be a dud. This makes Kakashi sink lower, but Naruto continues to pester him like the little brother he never wanted. But after pointing out the weird situation he just went through on top of the genuine attempt to learn first aid, he feels he has done more than enough to earn it. And so, Kakashi and Naruto spend a lot of their time off to show Naruto the Shadow Clone technique. But because it's being implemented into his wheelhouse so late for him, Naruto isn't going to be as incentivized to depend on it, while also knowing his full capabilities a lot earlier, as Kakashi thinks the ability to grow through its usage could help him not feel so stagnant. Over the next few months, there is more training and missions on the same schedule as always. The White Light Blade is finally repaired, and Sasuke's techniques grow much more potent and efficient as a result, as he also works to increase his speed to rival that of Haku's, and his chakra capacity to rival that of Naruto's, this time also doing wonders for his openness and confidence inside the team. Hinata masters multiple shuriken jutsu under the secret tutelage of Neji's teammate Tenten and Sasuke, leading to her long-range lethality and ability to bring distance fighters in close growing tremendously, as she makes the contents of her weapons pouch an extension of herself. Naruto's natural strength, durability, and regen continue to grow, as his custom Jinchuriki abilities become a slight bit more refined under all the training. He finds seriously devious ways to use relatively small forces of shadow clones compared to his canon counterpart, though there is a step in the wrong direction, as against Kakashi's wishes, Naruto has claimed ownership of what his sensei has labeled a forbidden jutsu, deciding to turn a setback into a win, and dubbing his failed version of the Mystic Palm jutsu a custom-made technique of his own, entitled the Calamity Palm. Kakashi of course puts restrictions on its use, however, those being Naruto's or his comrades' lives being in danger. But even so, on a few of the odd C-rank missions, Naruto has busted the technique out, using it against low-level bandits and trying to claim himself as covering Hinata or Sasuke, as he ends up racking up more than one kill in several maniacs. Sasuke had done so as well in this time, and while this wasn't outside the purview of shinobi life, it was disturbing that even the more reserved Uchiha was more willing to speak about his feelings on taking his first life and going through some light counseling with his sensei as Hinata did after the Land of Waves. But with Naruto, he only put on a brave face and would state the inevitability of a demon to bloody their hands. It is thoughts like these that distract Kakashi in the middle of a large meeting between the Jonin of the Leaf, as the upcoming Chunin Exams hosted in the Leaf are beginning soon, and the participant nominations need to be made today. This gives the Sharingan wielder pause, as he knows his team could not only compete and come out mostly unscathed, they could likely make it all the way through and earn a promotion each. But he has to wonder if that's really the right thing for them right now. For Hinata especially, the rank is well deserved, as she has the mentality and the ability for the weight of it, though that in itself may serve as an issue sooner or later, as he knows firsthand that it isn't good for a shinobi so young to so fervently bear so much responsibility and pressure. Sasuke as well at the very least has the ability, and while he's been thrilled to see him come more and more out of his shell, putting in new forms of leadership or responsibility may not be the best thing for the introvert either. And for Naruto, he undeniably more than has the strength needed. It's just his mentality that needs to shift, since with Hinata there to pick up whatever slack he as Team Sensei leaves, the Uzumaki has benefited from multiple people wiping up after him when his brashness gets him into trouble, and he truly hoped the day wouldn't come the boy wouldn't have that behind him. The silver-haired Jonin is then pulled from his musings when the third repeats his name a bit louder this time, raising a brow and asking him again more so out of formality than expectation. And after a short pause of hesitation in which he considers the various ambitions, Kakashi nominates his trio with extreme confidence in their effectiveness, citing that he truly believes he now has a better group than Lord Fourth once had with him with the last Squad 70. Hearers seems simultaneously intrigued and disturbed by this comparison. However, to those who haven't gotten to know the Elder Shadow truly, his face remains a calm mask as he writes the trio name down on the roster as well. Next, My Guy stands, for the second time, nominating his squad, only for hearers to stress the disadvantage Rock Lee will have if the later rounds of competition also end up being team battles as last year's exams that the Cloud had. This partially being why the boy uniquely failed when his teammates did spectacularly in comparison, since he could really only shine in terms of taijutsu and supporting his teammates. Being locked into the role of forward guard made him seem less impressive compared to Neji's Kekkei and superior taijutsu, or Tenten's upper tuning level shuriken jutsu and various weapons mastery. Guy does recognize this, and thus humbly requests the Hokage petition this year's Leaf hosted events to rely a lot less on teamwork for the more battle-oriented portions. I, as the writer, will admit this only needs to be mentioned since Neji and the immediate Hyuga family's character changes create such a large aberration of the timeline even thus far that Neji and Tenten already made good on their Rookie and Kunoichi of the Year titles by becoming Chunin at the end of their first year of getting service. Plus, part of me is just wanting a reason the exams always had the real battle sections contained as solo fights, when the whole point and most of the best fights in the series involve teamwork. So I guess this is just to say, be aware a lot more of my Naruto stories in the future. I'm going to likely pivot towards team-based final rounds of exams because of this. Regardless, in story, Kakashi as a good friend backs this, and surprisingly, so do Asuma and Kurenai. whom seems even more keen than Kakashi to see her trio tested against their peers, as she cites that when it comes to team competition, any shinobi can be overshadowed by their teammates. If anything, the ability to work so well your efforts go nearly unnoticed should be praised rather than punished, but that's a conversation for a later day. As the Jonin leave to inform their students, we flash over to a foreign location, the Hidden Sand Village, as a shadowy meeting is taking place between the Kazekage and the Jonin leader of his most vaunted of squads, made up of his elitely trained children and his unstable ultimate weapon. The plan to attend the league's Chunin Exams was a go, so now it falls to Baki to gather his Ginny and prepare to set out. This is easier said than done, as when the shroud Jonin leaves the Kazekage tower and whistles a specific signal so his more agreeable students body flicker to his side. Sparing no time for pleasantries, the middle child Kankuro asks if they really have to take guard with them on such a vital mission. However, before the eldest sister Tamari can reprimand him to watch how he speaks of their youngest sibling, the sound of Sen ruffling is all that heralds said boy's arrival as he body flickers into their midst himself, asserting that if anyone tries to bar him from such bloodshed, they'll be fed to mother, with the older three shinobi not doubting the threat for a second, and so moving to prepare for departure quickly. On the other side of the world, in the Hidden Cloud, a similar conversation is also taking place. However, here, the fourth Raikage is barking orders to the demoted head Cloud Ninja, reminding him to be on his best behavior, as he'd assigned him specifically this task mostly to carry it out as a goodwill mission. Not to mention, he would be in charge of his younger brother's Ginnin as well in light of his inability to leave the village, and so the stakes for the disgraced shinobi will be higher than ever. Nodding eagerly, the Weasley power-grubbing Cloud Jonin known as Kumodo slinks out of his Kage's office, lamenting his demotion to an academy brat babysitter over the last several years. But now, he could feel at least some happiness, as he might just have a chance for some state-sanctioned payback, as he can only pray that one of Lord B's team of Ginny will cross paths with that Hyuga heiress or another member of that clan, as he fails to recognize his own fault and his fate, as it was after all he who sought to gain more approval than A. But in this timeline, instead of just dying in the intent for it, was forced to live on in shame with slight remaining damage and a strange quirk of dribbling blood from his mouth when he gets agitated. Needless to say, the Cloud Academy students enjoy the time with the substitute sensei. Meanwhile, back in the Leaf, Naruto is stoked, particularly because he knows this will be his chance to brawl it out with Lee and the other villagers stronger, including his own teammates if they all make it long enough, since even though he's beginning to really like the guys, he's got a score to settle with both. Sasuke as well welcomes the challenge, but also expresses his displeasure with a public showing of his abilities like Neji's was, citing he can't afford if he wants to catch his target of vengeance off guard. He is also obviously nervous about the crowd in general. Kakashi chides this as being a part of the inherent challenge of the exams, and thus prompts all three of his students to be as effective yet frugal with their abilities as reasonably possible. While last but not least, Hinata is motivated solely for her own reasons. If she can't be promoted in her first exam like Neji, her place will be called into question once again. So her perfectionism and general prep school kid anxiety are beginning to flare up, along with the innate feeling she's been having that Naruto and Sasuke are both beginning to leave her behind, while she works to support the team with her sensei. In training ground number 8, another Jonin sensei is detailing the exams to her wards, as Kurenai tells her trio who have developed a more classic rivalry between the students, as they all vie to distinguish themselves. This is because, once recognizing her talents for something she specialized in, Kurenai has begun the training to make Sakura into a Genjutsu prodigy in only half a year's time, seeing her easily flourish as a kunoichi, as she is objectively tuning level at Genjutsu, and a fellow yet mature and straight-laced kunoichi like Kurenai would have an easy time working her slight apathy towards shinobi work out of her, forcing Sakura to determine for herself why she chose this path, and if it's worth staying on or if she's simply seeking to prove something to others. In turn, this has pushed both Kiba and Shino as Sakura doesn't have a lineage to uphold as they do, and in the eyes of Shino, isn't as naturally talented as someone like himself, even though he has developed a deep respect for and recognizing her effort and hard work. And Kiba, well, Kiba just kinda thinks he shouldn't be weaker than a girl. And he also wasn't too pleased with the fact that the Haruno girl had gained enough trust out of Akamaru to be able to coordinate moves with the puppy independent of him, though in the end, it does earn his respect and even a crush from him as well. Needless to say, these various lines of thought have also incited harsher training from Kurenai to make good on such a claim. Thus, Sakura is very excited to go up against Hinata and Ino to prove that clan status means nothing in the face of hard work and passionate study. On Teen 10's training ground, we see that Ino has forcefully seized the lieutenant position, and so does her usual bossing around of Shikamaru and Choji. However, the difference here is due to Hinata's influence during the academy. Ino is actually putting her money where her mouth is, and does everything she demands of her teammates twice as hard to ensure she can pick up the slack if their laziness drags the team down, leading to her developing her Yamanaka arts further, such as already mastering telepathy and sensory, and adding in a bit of shuriken jutsu and poison to complement it at Asuma's suggestion. her bossy nature forcing her teammates to further develop their Nara and Akamichi arts as well, while also picking up a complementary skill of their own, thus seeing Shikamaru add in stealth and evasion techniques to conserve chakra like simple presence erasure and hiding in the shadows, and Choji's movement techniques like body flicker and more advanced substitution techniques, which combined with partial expansion make interesting combos possible. While at their own personal training ground, Guy, Tenten, and Neji have become very worried about Lee, as even the hot-blooded youthful sensei has begun encouraging his remaining Genin ward to slow down and rest. However, Lee, refusing to fall any further behind his teammates, simply continues training when Guy turns them all loose, reasoning that his dream is more than worth dying for. 1 week later, we find the main mansion of the Hyuga household abuzz once again, but this time in a far less stealthy fashion, as Hinata and Neji thought it would be a good idea to meet up for breakfast that morning with the members of Team 7 and Team Guy sans their senseis. At first, things had been rather hectic, due to Hinata waving off the branch members of the kitchen staff to enjoy their morning, leading to Neji, Tenten, and she having to pull double duty on keeping Lee and Naruto out of the kitchen, as well as keeping those two and Sasuke from trying to spar mere hours from the first rounds of the exams. It is this ruckus that awakens Hanabi, and sees her enter the dining area to find the three muscleheads instead passing their time by arm wrestling. And when her high-pitched voice demands to know why these fools are in her home once again, and what's more, unattended by a Hyuga, it accidentally causes Lee to stop holding back on Naruto and Sasuke as they work together to try and push his arm down, seeing him accidentally slam the duo through the table and thus bring the entire household downstairs expecting another break-in. After Neji diffuses things, the group all sit and enjoy their light breakfast while those who have completed the exam successfully give them as many tips as they can think of. Though in his usual brash way, Naruto doesn't want to hear it, declaring that he's going to fight his way to the top with his fists and nothing else, while Sasuke says nothing, his keenly analytical mind stocking away any advice he views as valid for future use. Finally, it comes time for the Chunin Exams to begin, and so the aspiring Chunin all gather at the meeting point designated by their sensei. However, instead of being a place where they can take a written exam like in canon, this is a strange tower in the center of one of the forest training grounds, where Ibiki, Anko, and several other Chunin proctors are waiting for them. Here, they explain that this place is called the Forest of Death, and that their objective will be to make their way back out safely before the sun sets. Though, this is not the only condition, as to pass, they will also have to acquire a password known only by the proctors. Thankfully, the proctors will not be hard to find, as they will be pursuing them under the guise of being enemy shinobi, so everyone here should be prepared to fight like their lives depend on it, since they very much do. With this grim pronouncement, Anko gives the Genin 5 minutes to get a head start, and not wanting to waste any time, they flee. Hinata, defaulting into our role as lieutenant, orders Naruto and Sasuke to stick with her, since they will likely have to take down their stronger pursuer if they wish to get that password, and for a task like that, they will have to stick together. Accustomed to this, neither boy raises any objection, though Sasuke does make the very salient point that the proctor is not the only way they could get a password. They can also ambush their rivals and see if they know the password, since they would be easier to take down than a Chunin or even Jonin level threat. Naruto calls this a wuss tactic, barking at their unseen proctor to bring it on. And though less enthusiastic, Hinata concurs with Naruto, stating that this test was designed so that they feasibly could succeed against the pursuer, meaning it is their best bet to simply try and take them down, though she does add with a slight smile to Sasuke's point that it doesn't mean it has to be through combat like Naruto is suggesting. Unfortunately, before she can lay out what exactly she has in mind, a trio of large cobras spring down from a nearby tree with intent to devour the Genin. Acting on instinct, Naruto, Sasuke, and Hinata all scatter, though this seems to be exactly what the serpents want, as each breaks off after one of the targets and attempts to drive them away from the others. Recognizing this as an unusual level of cognizance for an animal, both Sasuke and Hinata theorize that this might be their proctor in disguise, and so call out for them to show themselves. Figuring that the Genin are all separated enough by now, the serpent complies, though instead of becoming any of the Tokubetsu Jonin they saw back at the tower, it becomes a tall, lanky woman with black hair that cascades to her waist and the same eyes as her snaky disguise. However, with the sight of the Byakugan, Hinata can tell that their assailant still hasn't shown their true face, but she has a very bad feeling about it. With this, friends, is where we'll be leaving this story off right now, as you have to find out what happens next in Part 6, Act 2. So, that does it for Part 6, Act 1. I hate to split this part up, but I think I'll be able to get through this really beefy part of the story faster and with better quality per individual part in it if we split this very vital part of the story into thirds. As you can see by Act 2's thumbnail, we got some big things coming up, and beyond all that, I'm highly considering splitting the entire series into seasons to cover the events of Shippuden in Part 1 separately, but we'll see about that later as we kind of cross that bridge. For now, very big shout out to Pickled Dill for once again helping me battle the script for this part, and finally shout outs to the sponsors of the channel in the form of the members and the patrons. Dominique, Pizza15X, Aaron Winters, Normandy 1998, Shao Pai, Coder SV3, Ronin Charizard, Daniel Smith, Drax, Dylan Wolfdog 31, Infernate Beast 326, Jay Ray, Johnny, Narku, Omar Cousin, Snow Slash Memes, and more. Stephen Norton, Terran the Shadows, Vegeta What If, Alamancer, B, Blood Down, Lyman Rogers, Omar Muhammad, Acho, Tay, Inebriated, John Sullivan, Trent Rouse, Dark Shadows, Pokemon Trainer Cam, River Joy, Elijah Edwards, Mr. Hamtastic, Jesus is King, Half an Onion, Angel Gonzalez, David Spalding, Lil T910, Flyer B, Joseph Lau, Blaze 9526, Trainer Rad 164, Luca Reynolds, Baron Stormblade, Panda Walk 301, Ono, and Chris Macriano. As always, your direct support of the channel means a ton and enables me to do stuff like commission artists, actors, or editors to speed up and improve video production and quality. And you can enjoy their ranks or support for free by making sure you're always leaving likes and commenting, as well as sharing the content to others. For now, be sure to take care of yourselves and the world around you, and as always, go beyond plus ultra. And I'll see you guys next time.